Hey, it's a new day in Cardinal Nation, and you are part of it. It's the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. It is great to have you with us on the day that Chaim Bloom was introduced as the Cardinals' president of baseball operations. Of course, STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours, and a new crown adorns the head of a new leader.
I like that.
In Cardinal Nation.
That's really well done.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
That was great.
Yeah. Chaim Bloom gets anointed this morning, and we want to hear from you. All you need to do is just use that little chat area that we have. We want to hear from you about what you thought of the Chaim Bloom press conference, available here at STL Sports Central. You can watch that whenever you want. We've already had reaction this morning, and we will have more from the press conference as we go along here this afternoon. Your general impressions of what you heard from Chaim Bloom.
I wasn't really surprised by anything I heard. A lot of it was, we're not where we need to be. And we'll hear a lot of these quotes coming up. Draft and develop is the important part here. I think there was some of the answers around free agency and spending were exactly what you would expect from a team not trying to show their hand or say too much. But I mean, I thought it was exactly the message I expected to get from Chaim Bloom, which is this is about the future. This is about long term. We're changing things. The most definitive answer you heard from him was about the investment that they were going to be spending on the minor leagues continued. That was the most definitive thing about money being spent. And I think that probably says a lot.
When they get close, I don't know what their plan is, but they aren't going to get close to getting where they need to be with their current revenue streams without building a minor league system and having young, cheap talent. And what the Cardinals have always preached is what they want to do is develop young talent. And then when that talent is ready, then you supplement that by making trades. But it's all going to start by developing young talent. By the way, we get a text here. Mr. DeWitt looks like Mr. Burns. And I did a Google search for Corbin Burns, and I don't see any resemblance whatsoever between either Bill DeWitt or Corbin Burns.
Brent Burns.
Oh, I don't see that either.
The beard?
Oh, okay.
The beard doesn't maybe make you think of Brent Burns at all?
Maybe that's what we got going. Okay.
That's fair. And I saw some Sharks games where he did make the Blues call him Mister. Bill Dowden says, was happy short-lived when they announced Ali coming back. Good job by Frank Cusimano. That was not a question that was asked in the press conference, but Frank asked it, I guess, immediately after the presser.
That's because I left it. It was pretty obvious that he was coming back.
I think that was,
When Mo talked about it yesterday, I thought that was a dead giveaway.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's something that he and Ali are going to have to do. I don't think anybody was surprised. And hey, as we've said with the Cardinals, always follow the money. Ali Marmol is in the last year of his contract, and then we're going to have a lockout. Are the Cardinals going to sign a new manager to a 3-year contract, pay him and Ali Marmol in 2026, and then pay a manager to not manage in 2027? That ain't going to happen. So follow the money and use your brain, and let's be logical. I know you do because you're incredibly smart people, but that's the way it's going to work. And I will say this, not that I think Ali Marmol is a great manager. I think my friend here, Matthew Rocchio, will attest that I have other ideas about the Cardinals and managing. That being said, I don't think you can find games this year that they lost because of Ali Marmol. I think if you look at the way he handled the bullpen, he did an exemplary job of handling the bullpen, and Ivan Herrera got better. Mason Wynn got better. Brendan Donovan got better. Alec Burleson got better. Pedro Pajes got better. Yes, you didn't see the advancements that you would like from Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, no question about that. But more players actually advanced than didn't. And I think we also have to keep in mind, when you look historically at the best prospects of baseball, the teams that are best at developing young players, if you hit on 50% of your prospects and turn them into players, you are doing really, really well. Now, the key for the Cardinals in the future is developing, drafting, or signing and developing a superstar, a guy, as Dan O'Dowd on MLB Network calls, an aircraft carrier, a guy like an Albert Pujols, or a player like Matt Holliday was, or in his prime, Carlos Beltran or Lance Berkman. Scott Rowland was an aircraft carrier. The Cardinals don't have that guy right now. So I think that's one of the big things that the Cardinals need to come up with is a superstar player, and they are going to sign that guy to a 10-year, $300 million contract. when he comes from another team. If the Cardinals are going to sign anybody, and by the way, I'm not sure they will even do that if they have that player on their roster. I think there's a chance of it. But if the Cardinals get themselves a superstar player, it's not coming from the outside. It's going to be internally developed. He's going to be drafted or signed and developed within the Cardinal organization. So with that being one of the questions, Chaim Bloom said we would have this question. How do the Cardinals win? Ultimately, how does it happen?
Win. Bill has said this time and again, we're a draft and develop organization. And when you look at our history, I think it's pretty clear that he's right. The Cardinals win first and foremost with core players that we acquire and develop. And fundamentally, that operating model that sustained this organization for decades is still sound. But for it to deliver the results that we need, we have to be elite at acquiring and developing baseball talent in every aspect. That means our process in both the domestic amateur draft and the international amateur system. That means how we assess and value players in other organizations and our own players too. It means how we develop our players physically, how we teach them the game, how we train them in the gym and on the field, how we take care of them in the training room, how we feed them, how we help them stay sharp mentally. It means how we coach at the big league level, how we get the most out of our major league players. It means how we prepare and game plan every night, how we hire and develop our staff. And it means how we leverage information in every area and how we innovate. So we will act with purpose and with urgency to take a fresh look at every one of those areas and work to set a new standard in each of them. Much of that work won't be visible from the outside, but if we do it well, the results will be a steady flow of championship caliber players coming through our organization, dominating details and winning ball games. A core that comes together and sustains itself through the inevitable change that every roster goes through in this industry. That's how the Cardinals win. And that's how we'll work towards our goal every day.
So one of the things the Cardinals are going to have to get better
answer, by the way.
Hmm?
That's I know that was part of his opening statement,
Yeah.
but I mean that is a literally you could have he hit every big problem.
Right?
Yeah, you hit every big problem the Cardinals have had over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, no question about it. And so you like to see it. And one of the advantages I think that we have in looking at the way the Cardinal organization has been built, look today, the Cleveland Guardians are in the playoffs. Two guys that were in that Guardian system, Larry Day was their minor league coordinator, is now the Cardinals minor league director. Rob Cerfolio was their director of player development. He's now the Cardinals assistant general manager and kind of oversees that minor league system. A guy like Matt Pierpont was the director of pitching development for the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners are going to be in the next round of the playoffs with one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball. So how are you going to do those things that Bloom said they need to do? You hire the people that have done it in the past. And I think that the Cardinals are doing the right things for an organization that has fallen dramatically behind. And they fell behind because they didn't have people like Bloom and Day and Cerfolio and Pierpont and Ethan Goforth. I think one of the issues that the Cardinals have run into that they won't run into now is that they haven't been open-minded about getting ideas from other people. Now you have other smart people in the organization and more on the way, and you utilize their thoughts, you utilize their intelligence, you utilize their ideas, and then all of a sudden you do start to develop players on a regular basis. As he said, championship players being churned out on a regular basis. It can be done. The key is going to be once you get good, you are not going to be drafting in the top 10 anymore. So you aren't going to be able to get the talents like the Cardinals hope they have in J.J. Weatherholt and Liam Doyle. You have to draft well in the bottom half of the first round. You have to draft well in the later rounds. One of the things that Chaim Bloom has done, Roman Anthony, he was the number one prospect in all of baseball this year for the Red Sox, drafted under Chaim Bloom in the 2023 draft. Yes, they had Marcelo Mayer, who was a top 10 pick. But Christian Campbell, another of the top 12 prospects in baseball before this season, he wasn't a guy that was drafted at the very top of the draft. When you look at that young group of Red Sox players that was procured when Chaim Bloom was the leader of that organization, only Mayer was a guy that came at the very top of the draft. So Bloom has been able to assemble a group of people that can identify young talent, develop talent, and get it to the major leagues.
So a couple other things here. this is Derek Gould from his reporting with Hyman afterwards with a couple of the other local writers. They expect to keep front office leadership group and adding to it as well. May move some responsibilities around. It says that releasing Arenado is quote unquote not an option. If they cannot trade him, they'd be quote unquote be happy to keep him as their third baseman, and C's need to add starting pitching options possibly through free agency. And I'll have more on this post dispatch. That's a tweet from Derek Gould for the post scrum, which started about 12:30. And I know Brendan Schaefer, who already has one piece out on STL Sports Central, was part of that scrum, and I'm sure we'll get more from him as well. So check out stlsportscentral.com.
And I really don't think that Nolan Arenado will be here. I think the Cardinals will find a way. I don't think that, to be honest with you, they would be happy bringing him back as their third baseman next year.
You don't think so?
I know that Chaim said that, but I think that might be a little bit of coach speak.
Yeah, a little bit. Bill Downs here says over under on 2 million tickets next year.
Oh, they were at 2.2 this past season. I would say I would go just under probably. But that's, that is a product of being the best winning fans in baseball, is that when things are going good, you show up. And by the way, this is every organization in every sport. You've got the Lions, you've got the Packers in the NFL, you've got the Red Sox, but not many teams draw regardless of the way the team is performing. And when Cardinal fans show up, they are the best in baseball, but they don't always show up, as we have learned. And neither do the fans in San Francisco, neither do the fans in Kansas City, even the fans in LA. Remember when the Dodgers had those yellow seats and it was just a sea of yellow seats for a Dodger game? They weren't showing up until the team got good again. So, that's the way it's going to be. So I would bet the under.
We missed a couple of your chats, but I'm going to go back to YouTube really quickly and read them off. Okay. Jerry Franks, I had it up there. Best part was Bloom talked about winning the division instead of a wild card spot. I know there's a lot of people who were commenting on that as well.
Yeah, and that is the way they need to go. And I thought it was interesting. Actually, later, Bill DeWitt Jr. did talk about making the playoffs. And you do have to start with the idea that you're going to win the division. You can't be a dominant franchise and not win your division. And that's what the Cardinals want to do. This is going to be an organization, and I know a lot of you have complained over the years about how, the Cardinals are happy making the playoffs, or the Cardinals are happy winning the division. This is an organization and a group of people that at the outset, and hopefully they don't get jaded, but at the outset, their goal is to win a World Series. Now, the question is, do they know how to do it? Will they go about it in the right way? We'll find out in the future, but I don't question the intensity or the desire of Chaim Bloom and his staff.
A couple notes. You can read Brendan Schaefer's piece right now on stlsportscentral.com. He was not part of the scrum afterwards, unfortunately. Okay. But that was from Derek Gould on the Twitter. Going back to the YouTube chats before we go, Eddie Money had this. He said, people are saying the media didn't ask good questions. They should have asked about Walker.
Well, that question will be asked. The Q&A was only a half hour, and then he did individual interviews with all the TV stations. He had that scrum afterwards. I can tell you from talking to people within the organization that Jordan Walker is going to get an opportunity next year. He will be a Cardinal at the outset of next year, and he'll probably be the Cardinals' opening day right fielder. The Cardinals still believe that he has a level of talent that is worth exploring, and so they're going to give him an opportunity.
We will hear the full quote here later, but I'm on Front Street says DeWitt is so proud of the game day experience, but the team is horrible. Fans don't care about the game day experience. Okay, I think they did say the very first thing they have to do to get people back in the doors is win baseball games.
Yeah, they do. And the main thing is the main thing. One of the problems that I think that we have in St. Louis, Matthew, and I brought this up before, and people get mad at me that are entitled. I don't think people understand what horrible baseball is. In our town. And that if you are your age or younger and you didn't have to deal with mediocre to bad baseball, you never have had to, then you might not understand what horrible is. A couple of years ago, 71 wins was horrible. This year, if you're going to Cardinal games, they went 44-37 at home, and they weren't going to make the playoffs, but mathematically they were in the playoffs until the end. And you did get to see some young players that got better. So I would respectfully disagree with this team being horrible, I think it's epically mediocre, but I don't think it's horrible. And fans don't care about the game day experience. Again, it's something that all of the research in every sport shows that people do care about. They care about other things. And I get that you are intently watching the baseball game and scoring when you go to the game. But there are people that are concerned about the music that's played, about the food, about other aspects of the experience rather than just the game. And for you, who doesn't care about the game day experience, and me, who's there to watch what happens between the white lines, they've already got us. So what they're trying to do is get a group of people that wouldn't be predisposed to going to a Cardinal game that'll get them to the ballpark for perhaps a different reason.
Ghostface Gaming says Texas will get Skip now as manager. We missed the boat.
Did you see why Bruce Bochy left? I'm not so sure about that. Now, I don't know if Skip Schumacher would have any desire to come to the Cardinals, and there are other managerial jobs open, i.e. the San Francisco Giants, but Bruce Bochy and the Rangers parted ways because of financial concerns, because they aren't going to spend money. They're going to go backwards, and they're going to get rid of high-priced players because of the revenue streams being generated by the franchise. If you're Skip Schumacher and what happened to you in Miami is probably going to happen to you again if you take the Rangers job, would you do that? Or would, as a former Major League Manager of the Year, would you pursue another job where you have a better chance of having high-quality players?
I don't know if I'd want to deal with that again. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to deal with that.
I don't think
again
so either.
Skip.
I mean, Bochy was very happy there, and Bochy says that he's not necessarily done managing, but they're going backwards in Texas. So I don't know that the Cardinals necessarily missed the boat on Skip. They may, but they may not have. And by the way, as I looked down the list of world championship managers historically, I didn't see Skip Schumacher.
Oh, geez.
I love him. Love him. I think he'd be great. But do you remember watching him?
I haven't seen it happen.
Run out of the dugout?
No, but I don't know. Is that the Bar's former championship managers?
For a Cardinal fan.
Well, that's I guess if he's not already here, or Terry Francona. Joe Arnold, hi Randy. Not sure who asked the question, but it seems to me the upcoming lockout / CBA is a considerable impediment to major investments in the next year. So
100.
Bill DeWitt III was asked about attendance, the broadcast issues, CBA. He chose to focus on the attendance question and really give a very thought out answer there. And we'll play that answer later. Then Derek Gould, who asked the original question, then pivoted, asked Chaim kind of a question about the uncertainty in the potential investments and how that might change the investment in the team if the broadcast and the CBA, with them being uncertain this year. And here was Chaim's question, which again is kind of a GM speak question, but again, he at least addressed that point from Derek. And so I'll play that one.
I mean, from my perspective, in this game, you're always dealing with uncertainty. It's part of what makes it fun. Obviously, anytime you have a CBA that's getting to expiration, you always know there could be changes. I think it just speaks to, Mo touched on this yesterday, the importance in our situation, frankly, in most situations, of just being able to be nimble and flexible so you can take advantage of whatever opportunities exist. So that's a mindset we have to have. But I don't want to have us put the cart before the horse. We got to stay focused on our goals. Again, if we stay focused on what we need to do and just keep doing the right things toward that goal, that usually leads to the most success. I think we do need to go into this thinking that we need to be in this mode and think this way for multiple years. But again, if we just stack good decisions and smart moves one on top of the other, it usually makes it go quicker.
I gotta think somewhere, Bernie, and I know Bernie's done his video. You can check it out on STL Sports Central. Bernie's got to be somewhere thinking, and you know who else thinks that way? The Milwaukee Brewers. Yeah, right. That last thing is exactly the way the Brewers are. Just stack small good decisions and look what can happen. I also think it's important there that in the question about the upcoming CBA, he talked about thinking long term for multiple years. Yeah. There's your answer, ladies and gentlemen.
And when you're talking about investments, so after Chaim spent 6 or 7 minutes talking about how this was going to be a draft and develop organization that is going to go back to the foundation, what Branch Rickey and George Kissel instilled, and how they were going to build with young players and have a consistent pipeline of young, high caliber, world championship caliber players coming through the system. Somebody said, hey, what's your payroll going to be? And are you going to sign a big time free agent this offseason?
A lot of people are mad that he then answered that they haven't talked about the payroll.
Okay, yeah. Well, number one, listen. Okay, when you're talking about building an organization through draft and develop, that means probably you aren't going to go out and sign big time free agents, and it's probably. I mean, I got it. I didn't feel like that was a question that needed to be asked. And I kind of rolled my eyes when it was asked, because no, you don't go out when you're not planning on winning, when you're planning on building a foundation 1 year, you don't go out and sign a big money free agent. The other part of this is that for those of you that are upset about the manager situation, again, follow the money. Okay, we've been talking about the CBA up after the 2026 season. Ali Marmol is signed through the 2026 season. The Cardinals are not going to sign a new manager, Skip Schumacher or anybody else, for multi-millions of dollars a year, $2.5–3 million a year, and sign him to a 4 or 5 year contract, pay both that manager and Ali Marmol for next year, and then pay that manager to not manage in 2027. That's just not going to happen. So I think we need to be a little bit more rational, a little bit more logical about what our hopes and dreams are for the Cardinals. And you have to follow the money and understand that this is being run as a business and nothing else. And they do they want to win? Yes. That's the way they're going to make money. That's the way that they're going to get people in the stands. That's the way they're going to get people into Ballpark Village. But that doesn't mean that they're going to go out and sign a $120 million free agent after this season, when next year you know that you're going to have a starting rotation that at the moment consists of Matthew Liberatore, Michael McGreevy, Kyle Leahy, and maybe Andre Palante. They aren't going to add this year's Corbin Burns to that mix. It just doesn't make sense. It would be a waste of money, to be honest with you, because even if you do add that big money guy to this starting rotation, it's not going to make you a World Series team. So I think that we need to listen to what the Cardinals say, and maybe as importantly, listen to what they don't say before we make judgments. And one other thing, I get it, that you want to be the Dodgers and you want to be the Yankees, that you want to have an exorbitant payroll because those teams have a better chance of making the playoffs and winning the World Series. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen in St. Louis. You're not going to have the Padres have a smaller market than St. Louis, and they have a much higher payroll than St. Louis. But Peter Seidler, their late owner, was willing to go out on a limb and to make those expenditures at his own cost because he wanted to do it for San Diego after they lost the Chargers and the city has never won a championship. That is not what's going to happen here. So I think just to ease your own mind, know this. The Cardinals are not going to go out and sign big money free agents. They explained it. If you want to go back and listen to or watch the press conference, it's all over the internet. Nowhere was it even suggested that the Cardinals, A, would try to win a World Series in 2026, or B, would spend big money on a free agent. So get that out of your mind. It ain't going to happen.
And let's talk about Chaim talking about the long-term thinking and decision-making. This is the mindset of the Cardinals. This is how all of your questions kind of need to be, the context that they need to be asked in going forward.
And for our roster this offseason and into 2026. Well, you heard me say it. We aren't where we want to be, competing for the division and for the World Series. We have talent here. We have more talent coming. And we have some of the makings of that core, but we need more. And so our top priority will be to build our talent base for the long term. That may mean hard decisions and short-term sacrifices, but to get where we want to go, we can't take shortcuts, and we won't. We will always want to win, and we will hunt moves and decisions that allow us to do that right now too, as long as they also serve our ultimate goal. But when we have to choose between short-term gratification and our bigger goal of contending consistently, we will choose the long term. We will make moves with that ultimate goal in mind because, simply put, that's where this organization needs to be. And in fact, oftentimes when you're disciplined in following a longer-term strategy, you not only get there more quickly, but you reap short-term rewards along the way. I've experienced that everywhere I've been, and we saw flashes of it here in 2025 too. Now, our strategy is long-term, but we won't lower the standard that we hold here every day. We won't concede anything, and we will always compete. How we work, how we scout, how we train, how we develop, and how we play, those are things we control and that we get to decide every day, and we will get after them with intent.
That's again, if you talk about having a plan, that's a plan I'm willing to buy into for the Cardinals going forward. That's a plan you need, and as long as they stick to it, that plan makes sense. And the fact that he talks about sacrifices and things like that to focus on the long term, and the part about building, if you do the right things consistently, little short-term things are going to happen. That's when you see that growing team blip up and get that 93 win season, and then maybe they regress down to 88 wins before they shoot up to 100. But that's the kind of things that you'll kind of see with some of these teams, is that you'll get a little peak and then a little down, and then you shoot back up, and now you're a 95 win team for a couple of years. That's what long-term building gives you, and not forcing decisions. Long-term building, having multiple outfielders in the minor league system who can come up, and so that when a tragedy does hit you, or a player doesn't develop, i.e. a Jordan Walker doesn't develop, or an Oscar Tavares tragedy happens, you don't panic move for Marcell Ozuna and put yourself behind the 8 ball further down the line. That's why that answer from Chaim is so important.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of approaches we can take to kind of draw analogies. Number one, if you look at the Baltimore Orioles this year, and they traded for Corbin Burns before last season, then they go out and get Charlie Morton, and they signed Zach Eflin, and they really didn't continue their development process. They kind of got over their skis. They were a really good young team, but they got away from that, and they got away from being a good young team. And then when they had Burns as a free agent, and they could have afforded to keep me, wanted to stay there, they didn't re-sign Burns. The other one, and Matthew, I'm trying to think here, honestly. When's the last time the Blues signed a big-time, big-name free agent to a big money contract? Was it Stastny?
Just Torrey Krug knocked out?
Oh, no, he counts. Okay, yeah, we'll do Torrey Krug. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. But when you look at what the Blues approach is now, it's drafting and developing. It was the sell-off a few years ago. They had 8 first-round draft choices in camp this year. Dvorsky is 19 years old. Snuggerud is 20 years old. Neighbors is 22. Holloway and Broberg are 23. I think that when you look at what the Blues are trying to do, that's kind of what the Cardinals are trying to accomplish in baseball. They're trying to have a young team that grows up together and gets to a point where it can win a championship, where you don't have to go out and add multiple guys. If you can find that final piece to the puzzle to put you over the top, that's what you need to do. All right, more of your chats, and we do appreciate them here on YouTube on STL Sports Central. Enrico Palazzo. I'm ready for whatever changes are coming. I trust Bloom until he gives me a reason not to. He's a sharp guy, and he's going to do a good job. So I don't have any doubts that he will be a benefit. I mean, I think to an extent that things had grown really stale under John Mozeliak. That was the word that I used. And I think Chaim provides a breath of fresh air, something new that Cardinal fans can take to heart. And I do think bringing in all these people with ideas from other franchises, and I'm not a big fan of all of this, working the margins and all of that stuff, but it does work for other teams. So I'm not averse to trying something new that does win. I think there are ways to utilize analytics, but I think there's better ways to use them than the way the Cardinals have.
STL Sports Central. I don't see, this is from Jerry Franks. I don't see the players playing that. I don't see that players like playing for Ollie. His teams just look flat every time they go out there. They have no fire in them since he took over. I mean, listen, everyone around this team and heck, the people who look at this team from the Major League Baseball perspective all say they're winning more games than their talent tells you they should. They're greater than the sum of their parts. And that application to a manager is one of the few checking boxes things you give for a professional manager. If you can raise your team up to greater than the sum of their parts, you are a good manager. Is he Terry Francona? No, but he's the youngest manager in baseball. And so you have to take those things into account, even just like you have with a young player. This is a young manager growing with a young team potentially. And I know you don't see it, but everybody on and off camera tells me that the players tell them on and off camera that they like Ollie. They like playing for Ollie. They respect Ollie as a manager, even though some of them are older than them and some of them make a lot more money than he does. Like, I know you don't see it. And again, it's funny because Claiborne earlier on the reaction show jumped in late and he pulled a comment up similar to this one and said, I don't know what you're talking about when you say his teams come out looking flat. I don't know what you're talking about. And that's a guy who's watched the last 400 games that Ollie has managed. And yes, Claves works for the Cardinals, so take that with a little grain of salt. But Claves also honest, and I think he would say they need a little bit more juice with this team. That's a comment that Claves would honestly say. And so him saying, pulling off a comment just earlier today about them looking flat and being like, I don't know what you mean when you say that. That tells me a guy who watches this team day in and day out, even through the doldrums, the lowest points of the season, when they are bored and they do have to smack themselves around to get up for a game, because that does happen. Ollie gets these guys up and playing. And again, you might not like his managing style. You might not like how this team is played, but I truly believe he's an above average manager. And if you can get him to play under only a 1-year deal, and that's not problematic for anybody, do it.
Yeah. And his job right now is to teach the fundamentals of the sport. Unfortunately, that's where baseball is now, that when you draft an 18-year-old player, or many times even a 21-year-old player, you are in a position where you have to teach that player the fundamentals, even at the major league level. One of the things Chaim said today is we are going to coach and develop at the major league level. And that's something that the Cardinals and every team has to do. Hey, there's a reason that one of the candidates being talked about for the vacant managerial job in San Francisco is Tony Vitello, a college coach, because what do you have to do in college? You have to teach the fundamentals. And I think that's where baseball is right now with these young players that are rushed to the major leagues.
Now, Randy, why would they rush young players to the major league? Does it have anything to do with the fact that they all make $600,000 instead of $6 million or $16 million?
Yeah, they don't. Number one, the players don't spend as much time in the minors because there aren't as many players down there. You've got 4 minor league teams, so there's not as much competition. But the biggest point is the one that you make. If you draft a player high, you've got an investment, and you want to see that investment pay off as much as you can early on. Now, is it a smart move? No, because I would want that player to be good before he started playing. Here's an analogy that we can use. Actually, we've got a couple. One of them was smarter than the other. The smarter one was when the St. Louis Rams took Orlando Pace, and Dick Vermeil and Jim Hanifin didn't want to play Orlando until he was ready to rock and roll. So he sits like for the first 5 or 6 games, then he starts and he's dominant. Another guy that was ready to go and he didn't play early on because his coach was an idiot was Aaron Donald. But you don't let a guy like Jordan Walker was put in a horrific situation by the Cardinals because they hadn't taught him how to play before they brought him to the major league level. And I know that on his video today, Bernie talked about how Jordan Walker should go to Memphis. Not necessarily a bad idea, but the fact of the matter is every team is playing now with players that just don't know how to make winning baseball plays. One other point. The Cardinals lose their last 4 games by scores of 4-3, 12-1, 7-3, and 2-0. One thing that I grew up listening to Jack Buck and Mike Shannon say is that if your team's not hitting, it's going to look flat. And that is probably what you're seeing, is a team that did not have a good year offensively. I think they were 18th in runs scored this season, 18th or 19th. Their OPS was low. It was just not a good offensive team. And by nature, those teams are not going to look as exciting as teams that are hitting and running and getting on base and doing all those things. Cardinals runs per game, they were, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 21. They were 20th in runs scored.
I think that's fair. Let's get this question from Anthony C, because Grant Salzman when we were on in the morning today before the presser hit me with this one, and I think it's interesting. Randy, you said the Cardinals aren't going to pay a new manager just to sit at home in 2027.
Yep.
Do you believe Ollie is a lame duck barring a deep playoff run in 2026?
I do. Yep. I think that, and especially because of the optics of the situation. unless, and I don't think it's a deep playoff run. I think it's a playoff appearance. And in the organization, people like Ollie. The front office likes Ollie Marmol, as they should. He's a good guy. The players, as Matthew mentioned, like playing for Ollie Marmol, and he really hasn't been given a great group of players. You heard Chaim Bloom say, we have a lot of work to do to get the kind of players that we need to have to win. So he hasn't been playing with a full deck, which isn't fair. That being said, if the Cardinals have another 71 or 72 win season and they don't see advances, then I could absolutely see a change being made, because that'll be Ollie's 5th year. And regardless of what he has available to him, this is not a situation. Hey, Mike Matheny got fired at playing 500 ball because 500 isn't acceptable in St. Louis. So if you have another losing season, then I think that there will probably be discussions to be had.
I really like this text from Craig Lewis, because it's got the cleverness I appreciate. I cannot believe that Bloom didn't fire Ollie today and announce the Molina era. Just like I also cannot believe that he didn't commit to a $200 million salary for free agents.
That's what you wanted to hear, isn't it? So
you had me in the first half.
Yeah.
Good job. That was a good text.
Yeah. So, and I think that Ollie, he's got more experience than Yadier Molina. I think you people, I think the people that believe that Yadier Molina is going to be the Cardinals manager without any previous experience, any previous coaching experience, and with what that organization knows about his history of helping young players, and the fact that he doesn't like connecting to the fans through the conduit that is the media. I think there's a lot of things that they, especially without the fact that they're selling tickets, I think the Cardinals would be concerned about. They should be concerned about a lot before they would hire Yadier Molina next year.
And here is our good friend Bernie Miklas, his reaction today from the Bernie Show, breaking down his reaction to the Ollie Marmol in 2026 effects.
The Cardinals manager for 2026. And to me, it's an obvious move. And to me, it is no surprise. And to me, I have thought for a couple of months now that Ollie Marmol was secure in his job. I have learned never to be caught off guard. So I always left a little bit of room, saying, I strongly believe, I firmly conclude, I'd be shocked if he's not. Because until they make it official, I've learned, don't assume anything. But listen, I was privy to some things going on, and I know that, Marmol and Bloom had developed very good relationship, a good working relationship. There were a lot of meetings, a lot of meetings about planning for the future. And whether they, I figured the announcement or the disclosure would come after the season, which it did, although it didn't come in the major press conference, which was weird. Maybe the Cardinals maybe Bloom's attitude is, when I get a chance, I'll ask him. Maybe his attitude was like, well, heck, why wouldn't he be back? Was that really a question? Yeah, it was hanging in the air, Chaim. And then you had a lot of people out there burning candles, incense, whatever superstitious things. Maybe some people have visited New Orleans and came back with voodoo dolls. You had some people out there, maybe rosary beads. I don't know, just praying to the baseball gods that he would fire Ollie Marmol. So yeah, I think it was a question.
Yeah, I think there's you can tell just from our chat that it was a question for a lot of fans. Ryan Cleary, okay, that's fine. No new free agents, no new manager. Follow the money. Okay, got it. Then don't expect me or other fans to show up until then. Good luck.
Yeah, and if you think that you're going to solve all your problems by signing a bunch of free agents and paying a bunch of money, then I think you need to broaden your horizons. Maybe study the 2025 New York Mets, for example. I don't know that signing a bunch of free agents automatically, well, I do know, because the Mets didn't make the playoffs. It doesn't put you in the playoffs. A new manager does not automatically put you in the playoffs. I think there's a lot of things that can get you in the playoffs, but this team, and I get we're in a microwave society, and I get that you want to have the $200 million payroll, and I get that you want to have the new manager. But you know what? Number one, this team isn't ready to go in terms of that. Number two, you said yourself you aren't going to the ballpark, so the Cardinals aren't going to have enough revenue to sign those free agents and run a business, a normal business. It just, if people aren't buying tickets, then it's going to be young and inexpensive, and it takes time to have young and inexpensive be good. I don't. Well, here's the thing. I get that you want things now, but this is not a now situation, and I also understand the optics of not bringing Ollie Marmol or bringing Ollie Marmol back, because there is guilt by association. His team only won 78 games this year, but I think there's a lot of managers out there that wouldn't have won a whole lot more than 78 games with this year's Cardinals. And I'm not going to blame Ollie Marmol for Eric Fetty or for the struggles that Miles Michaelis endured, or for Jordan Walker not turning into the player they thought he would be, or Gorman regressing later in the season, or the regression of Nolan Arenado, or the failure to consistently advance of Victor Scott, or the failure of Lars Nootbaar to stay healthy and to advance. I think there are things you can blame managers for, but I didn't sit and watch games, Matthew, in 2025 and say, man, if Ollie Marmol would have made a different move, they would have won. I think that people want to make a change for change's sake here without looking logically at where this team is. I want to make one other point. When the Blues decided to keep Drew Bannister as their head coach after he had been their interim, one of the things that Doug Armstrong brought up was there are teaching coaches and there are championship coaches. And he, without telling Drew Bannister he was going to be fired, he said, this is our teaching coach. And then when a championship type coach became available, who actually also is a great teacher, they got him. My belief would be that Ollie Marmol, who is an excellent teacher, is the teaching manager. And once this team is ready to take off, if the Cardinals determine that Ollie is not the manager to take him over the top, then they'll bring in a different guy and probably give him a couple of free agents. It'll be like Bochy was in Texas.
There you go. Rally Squirrel. 2026 is the perfect time for a lame duck season. No championship expectation. There's a lockout looming.
Well, there you go. There is logic. There is rationality on the part of Rally Squirrel. Thank you very much. You get it.
Yes, Rally Squirrel, you get it. I love it when the goofy names make the best points. It never gets enough for me. I'm trying to find another one of these chats that I was looking at. Sorry. You guys are coming fast and
it's great. We love it. We appreciate it.
I'm trying to keep up with it. And you know what?
How about Ghostface Gaming? Fans wanted to trade Jordan Walker to the White Sox last year for Garrett Crochet instead of Edmund for Fetty. Fans would have then seen playoff baseball these last 2 years instead of this trash. Number one, I don't know that was a guarantee. I would think that you probably could have gotten.
Don't come into this chat and play this hindsight game. That's come on now.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, Garrett Crochet said that he wasn't going to pitch in October anyway. Yeah. Right? It didn't matter what team he was on. He was going to make that deal. The White Sox had said, no, we're going to wait until the offseason to make the deal, and they did. And then they wound up getting a haul. The White Sox did pretty well in the trade that they made with Boston. Another part of this, were the Cardinals going to extend Garrett Crochet? Were the Cardinals going to pay, let's see, he got an extension for, did he get 130? I don't know that the Cardinals were going to, I'm pretty sure the Cardinals were not going to trade for Garrett Crochet and then make him their highest paid player. That's just my guess. 170 he got. There you go. So I think there are a lot of misconceptions there about the fact that the Cardinals could have gotten Crochet and then would have kept him with an extension.
Yeah, I think that would have made I think that would have made a lot of sense to a lot of people. One of the early questions that Bloom received was talking about 2026. And we didn't hear a lot of the words. We didn't hear anything about rebuilding or anything. We did hear about kind of their mindset going into 2026, and I thought this was interesting. Here's Chaim Bloom from early on in the press conference being asked about their mindset for this next season.
Like I said, we're not going to concede anything. That's just not how we should operate. That's not the standard we should hold. We just need to be focused on our ultimate goal. And like I said, I think when you do that, you find that a lot of the time you end up reaping some short-term benefits. We have good talent here. And, there's nothing we should concede heading into 2026. We just need to make sure that the things we actually do and the roadmap that we follow is geared towards that bigger goal.
So yeah, if you can get a Quinn Priester, and if you can, make a Griffin Canning like move, and maybe find one other move so that you don't have to use Leahy as a starting pitcher if you don't want to, or if there's an injury and things like that. That way you get a starting five that resembles an actual, pro starting five. You can do it with 20-30 million bucks and eat some money from Gray and Arenado, and all of a sudden you got flexibility, and the payroll's still about 110, 115. Shaved about 20 off of it from this year. I think that's a pretty realistic deal.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and I know this is difficult sometimes. It's hard for me to explain, so I get why it's difficult to understand. I barely understand it myself. But here's the best way I can do it. On a daily basis, Oli Marmol and those players are going to go into games, and the coaching staff, every game they want to win. They want to put the best team that they have available on the field to win. The players want to hit enough to win. The pitchers want to pitch enough to win. Fielders want to field enough to win. Every single day, those players are going in with the idea that they're going to win one of 162 games. And if they win 100 of them, that'd be wonderful. That being said, the front office, and I think this is one of the reasons that they like Oli, because he's got buy-in here. The front office is about growth. They're about finding out about players. They're about players advancing at the major league level. They aren't finished products when they get to the major league level. So there's really a belief that they're not going to compete because of the level of talent that they have. So they're going to lose some games where it'll really bother the players and the managers and the coaches. But big picture, they're going to say, you know what? We learned X about player Y, or in the next game, okay, this pitcher showed us something that we know we can improve upon. So even though they lose that battle, they're winning the big war. That's the best way I can explain what the goal is here. It's not, they would like to win every game. They would like to win the World Series, but that's not the goal, and that's not the plan, because they just don't have enough good players to do that right now.
Chris Widener comes in and says, wishing Chaim and co the best. What troubled me the most were the cratering in fundamentals and hitting approach as the season progressed. Hope he finds answers, looking like he doesn't foresee changes to the coaching staff.
And I wonder if they will make any changes. That'll be finalized.
And that was confirmed from, I think Gould actually said the executive staff, not the coaching staff. My apologies.
Yeah. But I would think the coaching staff will stay pretty much the same. I think you've got some issues, as Brant Brown talked about late in the season, with guys like Jordan Walker and his preparation. And clearly, when you look at the performance of a guy like Nolan Gorman, there are issues there. But yes, there were issues definitely with the fundamentals. Part of that is that Arenado did have a great year defensively. And when he got hurt and Donovan got hurt, then all of a sudden you don't have the defense that you had at third and second. Makes a big difference. And you were dealing with the diminished Mason Wynn too. So when your infield, 3/4 of your infield is either unavailable or diminished, that's going to cause defensive problems, and that's going to manifest itself in cratering fundamentals. You're 100% right. And they need to be better at that next year. The other part of this is that you're going to have different players. JJ Weatherholt is going to be here next year. You have to find the best position for him. And again, at the major league level, you're going to have to help him become a better player. He's a good player now, has a chance to be a great player. But rather than having wallow like he would have a couple of years ago in the Cardinal system, like Jordan Walker did without any coaching, he's going to be coached to the nth degree. As a matter of fact, if you saw the piece, I don't even remember who had it this weekend, that he was in town. He saw Busch Stadium for the first time and was working with Bernard Gilkey.
I think Hockman had it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it was. Some members of the Cardinal minor league staff were working with JJ Weatherholt and several other minor leaguers up here in St. Louis. And that's what they need to do every day. Once the season is over, there needs to be something that makes those players just a little bit better.
We got, sorry, where was this? Being cheap and not being able to sign an ace like Crochet, like you said, Randy, is the quickest way to lose fans.
Yeah. And you're right. It's that was really cheap to But here's the thing: Garrett Crochet was great this year. Was Garrett Crochet going to make the Cardinals even with the teams that before the season started, primarily the Dodgers and the Phillies? Was it going to even you up with the Dodgers and the Phillies and have people say, "Yeah, that's a World Series team"?
The Dodgers and the Phillies? No, because he places Fetty. He won 18 games. You're close, but you don't go that far.
So let's take a look at this because I don't know who the Red Sox had a pretty good system. I don't, and I'm sure the Cardinals could have made some deal to get Garrett Crochet.
I just think
the Cardinals don't have an awful lot of.
I think this is moot. We're talking about a player that was signed by the Boston Red Sox. When the Cardinals were having success, they still dealt with being outbid by the Boston Red Sox. And John Mozeliak said it yesterday. The haves and the have-nots is becoming a wider gap. And I know people will say, well, if you have 3 million fans, you can't be one of the have-nots. But when you're in a smaller market and you drop down to 2.2 million fans and you're not getting the TV money, then you are definitively, then that's why the gap's getting wider. And so, like, I think that I understand when fans get pissed about losing like a free agency or not being in on a player, but I just think that there's times where it's just like, they didn't outspend the Boston Red Sox, and they probably were never going to. When has that not been true?
And the Red Sox gave up, I believe, 4 of their top 16 prospects. And that was a really good system too, because even after that, they had 3 of the top 12 prospects in baseball heading into last season, with Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and Marcelo Mayer, 3 of the top 12. So they had a good system, and they gave up 4 guys that were among their top prospects. Boston did, to get Garrett Crochet. It's water under the bridge, and I don't know that was being cheap. I think that was being I guess if you don't spend $170 million on a player, you're being cheap. So that part of it is fair. But I don't think the Cardinals were that close in trading 4 of their top 15 minor leaguers for Garrett Crochet that would have put the Cardinals over the top.
I mean, things would look a lot better right now if they listen, in hindsight, it's 2020, because he's doing what he's doing now. He's looking even better than he did before he got traded. He's killing it this year. His ERA is 1 point lower than a full point lower than it was in his previous years, and now he's 3 years removed from Tommy John surgery. So it's all looking gravy for him. And if you had Garrett Crochet going into this season for the Cardinals, but you didn't have Jordan Walker. Help me out here with what the other 3 bodies were.
JJ Weatherholt.
Never mind. Okay, JJ Weatherholt, Quinn Matthews.
Yep.
And the 4th body, Chase Davis, Jose Baez.
Probably a catcher.
One of the catchers. I don't know. I wouldn't feel that much better about the 2026 Cardinals without JJ Weatherholt. I mean, no JJ Weatherholts. Maybe and one of the young pitchers not coming up this way. You'd have.
This is such a moot point.
It is such a moot point.
We're wasting time here.
I know.
But you're 100%.
I'm trying to field the question, field the thought process a little bit.
It would not have made a difference for the Cardinals, and that's just not the way the Cardinals act. Boston is a top 6 market. Boston has a ton of money. They had a ton of prospects. They have an incredible desire to compete with the Yankees, who went to the World Series last year. Boston is a different animal than St. Louis. The Boston Red Sox are a different animal than the St. Louis Cardinals.
Like the things that are pissing me off is squabbling with Brendan Donovan over a couple $1 million.
Yeah,
that's the thing, in my opinion, that is an organization being cheap, not being able to play in the same pool as the richest clubs in the entire league. I just think there are there's a difference in those two things. You can be, I can't spend with the Red Sox and not also be cheap.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. And I know Bill DeWitt III got crushed for this, that people think, okay, we're going to send a message by providing less money to the Cardinals so that they'll spend more money. And that's just never resonated intelligently with me.
That pisses off so many fans. That response
Right?
today.
Does
I've
it-
seen that.
yeah.
I've
Does it
seen
make
that
sense,
quote
though?
all over today.
So I would like somebody to explain to me, and maybe this has happened in your business, where the business makes less money, has less customers, spending less, and so the business decides to go out and spend more. That just I don't know how you make that work. It seems like
I
and the Cardinals
don't
have
think
always said-
anyone's had a problem with the logic of DeWitt's statement. People's issue was the smugness that they
Well,
got from that
here's the
statement.
thing.
The logic of the
He
statement
said
tracks.
it made him chuckle
Yes,
because it's stupid.
and then he laughed. Yeah, and he laughed. At
Right.
the idea.
But isn't it stupid to say, okay, we're going to send you a message. We aren't going to buy your product. We aren't going to buy your product, but then we want you to spend more money.
It's not. It's stupid in that you think that. It's stupid in that you think. I don't think it's stupid because I think that fandom, one of the only ways they can speak to the ownership is by not buying tickets.
Okay.
The problem is you are talking about like an uncapped league and without the revenue sharing. So it's like when you do it for a football team, you still can then say you're getting revenue sharing. We still expect you to spend to the cap, even though we're not showing up.
Have you not
Baseball,
watched
the
this
economics are
ownership?
different.
Have you not watched this franchise since 1996?
I have pretty much the entire time.
So when did they start spending a lot of money?
In 2002? 2000.
What happened in 1998, 99, and 2000?
They had Mark McGuire.
And what happened with the stands when Mark McGuire was
Oh,
there?
they were full.
Okay. And then once they started rolling in 2000, what happened with the stands?
The stands were very much full.
So that you can go out and get a Scott Rowland in 2002 or trade for a Larry Walker in 2004. It's a very logical leap. When they're making money, they spend money. When they aren't making money, they don't spend money. I don't know why this is so difficult to understand.
But why fans took it the way they did is that, and I'm sure we're getting some chats here that I should just let the fans explain it themselves. But I don't want to scroll down and lose all our other chats. So I'm trying to go in order, but we've jumped to a different conversation. Now I want to see if anyone's commenting on that.
Okay.
So if you have a comment on Bill DeWitt's previous comments, please get it in now, because I thought. Again, the logic of his comments tracks, and I think you're correct. And I think just people were mad at his answer being tone deaf, despite the fact that it was accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just think you're talking about people being fanatical and being illogical, and that's just the group you're dealing with who's not going to, because there's a group of people who want the DeWitts to dip into their own pockets to spend, which because Cohen does it, and they expect that their ownership will then do it. And there's a group of people who also refuse to hear comments like that they're middle of the pack or that they're small market and things like that. Some fans hate hearing that, even despite its reality. And so when fans heard that joke and they heard him laugh at it, and to your point, they said, "Well, we want our team to be better." I think some people wanted them to spend money that they didn't have, or that the team wasn't making, which is unrealistic. Okay. And I think there's another group of fans who think that baseball is profitable. They're probably still not spending money that they could spend that is inside the Cardinals coffers. And so I think there's a slightly realistic group of people who are still mad about that comment, but I think the majority of people who are mad about that comment, it is a totem that they can use to express their anger about the last 3 or 4 years. They're not actually thinking about the logic of the Bill DeWitt comment. They have a billionaire son. So you have the nepotism factor as well. They have a billionaire, multi-generational figure chuckling about their spending habits. No matter the logic behind it, Randy, it's always going to play
so it's basically we're talking about illogical.
We're talking about optics, which is a lot of times it has to do with illogical things and just the perception of things, and perception isn't always facts.
Okay. By the way, the 5 major league markets that have Major League Baseball teams above St. Louis, the 5 above: Sacramento, Denver, Cleveland, Miami, and Minnesota. Minnesota not in the playoffs this year. Miami not in the playoffs. Cleveland, very good. Denver not in the playoffs, and Sacramento not in the playoffs. The 5 below, and the Cardinals, I think I counted 23 franchises in market size above St. Louis. The ones below St. Louis: Pittsburgh, Baltimore, not good. San Diego, punching above their weight. Kansas City and Milwaukee and Cincinnati. So those are the small markets. So I would say that if you're in the bottom third of the market sizes, that you are in smaller rather than a larger market.
Yeah, people who bitch about that claim they're just ignoring facts. You mama, bring back steroids. Herrera on gear would be a monster.
Unbelievable.
It's also
I'm with you 100%.
It's funny that we were calling it gear. Oh my God, we can't be done with the show. We have too many comments.
I'm going to tell you folks about what's going on with our friend at DraftKings. The wait is almost over, and DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when we officially go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and to use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Okay, a couple things I want to get onto here. Number one.
The commenters are not disappointing. Well,
depending on your never did. We love the fact
depending on your
and not
your perspective.
Okay, a couple of things. Number one, the Cardinals have been described before as a small market but larger revenue team. They are still a small market, and St. Louis, by the way, is getting smaller. We keep regressing in market size, but they are not, over the course of the last several years, a large revenue team anymore. This is because of the TV contract and the message being sent about them not spending money, so people not going to the ballpark. As we've mentioned here before, drew 3.3 million in 2022, 2.2 million this year. That's a million people at $50 a pop. That is $50 million. All right. That's right?
Yep.
So 50 million. Yeah. So that's part of it. The 50 million that they had to spend 3 years ago, they will not have in 2026. The other part of this is that the Cardinals, they want to improve their in-game experience, but the main thing is the main thing. The reason that the Cardinals have been average or below average over the course of the last 23, 24, 3 years, and even before that, no, they were good in 21 when they won the 17th straight, and they were really good in 22. But you had really good players, and the Cardinals don't have a great player now. They aren't going to, well, we would like them to. They aren't going to sign that superstar player, that difference-making impact player in free agency. So the reason that we're here today talking about Chaim Bloom is because they need to find those guys before they become major league superstars, not 6 years after or not 3 years after when they played 6 years in the majors.
True.
The Cardinals need to develop a superstar. And until they do that, they aren't going to succeed. You need to have great players. Look at the Dodgers and the great players they have with obviously the 3 Hall of Famers. You've got 3 MVPs in Betts, Freeman, Ohtani. Look at the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton was an MVP. Aaron Judge is an MVP. Paul Goldschmidt was an MVP, not playing at that level, but they're loaded with really good players. Even Milwaukee, Christian Yelich, 30 and 100 this year, former MVP. They give Churio the big money. He's a really good player. They've got players and they identify pitching. You need to have great players. And the Cardinals have some really good players, but they don't have any great players. I think the only other team in the National League that I would argue does not have a great player on their roster is the Colorado Rockies. Even Miami, with their struggles, has Sandy Alcantara. So I think that is what the Cardinals need to get from Chaim Bloom. He needs to identify, draft, or sign, and that's international free agents, and develop great players here in St. Louis. So I think that's where they are right now.
So we got some responses to the DeWitt stuff.
Okay.
Someone says DeWitt the third is very snobby. BD3 comes across like a spoiled brat.
I'd like to know about your interactions with Bill DeWitt. I've never found him to be snobby. Bill DeWitt the third,
he's a pretty good hockey player
and a really good golfer.
Some believe
But he's a nice guy, and I think unfortunately he doesn't play the game, and he's unfailingly honest.
Yeah,
I think that people don't like that.
Some believe the DeWitts are so rich that they can afford to lose money. The Cardinals made them billionaires.
Then how did they buy a team? Well, they did buy a team cheap,
a couple $100 million, and then they immediately profited off the sale.
But there's nobody in baseball except for Steve Cohen, the owner of the New York Mets, is spending their own money to pay players. I was told, I've talked last year about or during the season, how the Dodgers made up the Shohei Ohtani money last year alone.
Mm-hmm.
They made it up in 4 months.
That's insane.
4 months after they had signed Shohei Ohtani for $700 million over 10 years. 4 months after that, they had generated $700 million in revenue to pay his signing off.
Also,
and he wasn't coming to St. Louis, unfortunately.
Ghostface Gaming keeps hitting the chat about the Garrett Crochet and Walker thing, and he keeps admitting that Walker's value was really high last year. Just maybe that's why they didn't want to trade him, because his value was still really high last year. Eric Letford, DeWitt's the 7th richest owner in Major League Baseball. If you won't spend money, then sell the team.
Well,
they own Paul Park Village and a bunch of other stuff. They are making plenty of money.
That's not the way business works. And
the way it works.
I wish I worked for you. That's, as Tony said, I'd like to manage against you. I would love for you to have a bunch of money and for me to work for you so that you could spend money on me. That's what I want.
The DeWitts would learn or save make so much money by learning how to talk to fans. The corporate HR nothing speak provides no vision, clarity, or accountability, even when they're being quote unquote logical.
What do you think of that? Do you think that is the case, that if a sports franchise owner is just nice to the fans and plays the game, would you save and make so much more money just by talking to the fans and being steward?
Rally's only asking
you have to win, I guess, is my question.
I think you do, but I think in fairness, Rally Squirrel's only asking for vision, clarity, and accountability. I think that's a fair thing to expect from a team. I think they did a fair job of
number one,
bringing out a lot of that today.
Yeah, you're welcome for finally for us holding Mo accountable. Where is he now? You're welcome. And I thought we had some clear vision today from Chaim Bloom.
Have you had to make some lifestyle changes?
You're welcome.
Gone?
Now,
have you had to make some lifestyle changes now that Mo's gone, not giving you that check?
Yeah.
Well,
it's still on the franchise.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen the checks. I have not.
Oh, okay.
So I get that I'm an employee of the team, but I still haven't seen the checks, and that kind of bothers me. Okay, but let's again think about this. So I think that you can be a dickhead. I won't even go that far. I think that you can not communicate with your fans and still win a Super Bowl in the National Football League. I think that has happened.
As long as you win the Super Bowl, you don't care. You don't care if they communicate.
No, if you win the Super Bowl. Now, what if you're an owner that is really engaged with your fan base, but loses all the time? Like, who talks to their fan base more than Jerry Jones does? As an owner,
I can't think of one.
Do Cowboy fans love him right now?
Not really, no.
So I don't
pretty out on him.
Yeah, I don't know if talking to your fans and being warm and I don't know if he's warm and fuzzy, but he at least communicates with them. I don't know if that's automatically going to sell tickets. Can't hurt, but I don't think that people are going to buy tickets because the owner is out talking to the fans all the time.
Are the Reds that much better than the Cardinals, or is it Francona? Would Ollie have taken the Reds to the playoffs?
I think the Reds have a couple of superstars, Hunter Green, and they didn't have him for a lot this year. He only made 19 starts, but he's a stud. And then Ellie De La Cruz is a great foundational player. I don't know if Ollie would have taken. I would guess not. I think that Terry Francona is one of the very few difference-making managers in baseball right now. Yeah,
I think Terry Francona is a fantastic manager.
Yeah, I think he is a difference maker. I think Hinch is a difference maker. But aside from that, aside from the people that just are allowed to manage the game, Kevin Cash is a good manager. His team went 77 and 85. Vogt is terrific with Cleveland. He gets a ton out of that team. AJ Hinch, as we mentioned. Rocco Baldelli is not a bad manager, and his team went 7 and 92, and he got whacked So he's one that I would say is good.
Eddie Money 100 says, we don't have money like the media does. We don't get free tickets.
Well, here's the thing.
The media, being in the media has no reason why I get free tickets.
We
Thank
have
you very much.
credentials. We get credentials, and we do have to pay for our food.
Yeah, trust me. I'm not going to Cardinals games because of my media thing. Get out of here. That's just smart. The biggest problem is a lack of talent, period. They have 0 high-end power hitters in the majors or minors. Even as good as Weatherholt can be, he isn't that guy.
I agree with you 100%, Dan. You are 100% correct. And that's why I said what I said. You need to have great players, and that is the charge of Chaim Bloom over the course of this 5-year contract. He needs to find a couple of those guys that are difference makers that can help a team win a World Series. Or you need to identify less expensive players that can benefit you greatly, like when the Cardinals signed Berkman and Beltran.
Aaron Dobson says Randy is against the fans.
Totally against. I've never been a fan. I've always been anti-fan. When I've been a Cardinal fan since I was a kid, I've always been anti-fan.
Karraker Lewis says, hold on. How is all that money they make off Ballpark Village not expected to be used on the team?
People aren't going to Ballpark Village, and Ballpark Village is the way it's been described to me. Ballpark Village might as well be in Columbia. Ballpark Village is co-owned by the Cardinals and Cordish Company. Actually, the DeWitts and Cordish Company, not necessarily the Cardinals. The Ballpark Village and the Cardinals are separate entities, even though it's a real estate venture that, to me, goes hand in hand with the Cardinals. For them, in terms of the way the books are kept, they're separate. So even though they're making money off of Ballpark Village, it'd be like somebody owning a Chick-fil-A that's very successful, and then an ice cream store that's kind of struggling right next door. Many people will have different ideas as to how to run the business. So you aren't going to take your Chick-fil-A money and pour that into the ice cream store to make that do better. So I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but they are two separate entities altogether, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Ballpark Village with the businesses over there with One Cardinal Way, even though it is named after the Cardinals, they are separate entities, and the money that flows into Ballpark Village doesn't necessarily flow into the Cardinals.
Land Free Adventures. Randy, can we get a Chalk Talk episode?
I think that's a fun idea. We should do that. We need to get a wheel.
Yes. Can we please do Chalk Talk? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I definitely can get McGraw.
Yes.
I wonder if Malcolm Briggs would come and do it.
Yes. I would love that.
Yeah.
I'd be reliving my childhood. Oh my God.
Okay, let's see. And then Twister. Yeah, we could probably get a we'll get an episode together. That'll be fun. We need a wheel.
I think they're doing something with Twister here right now. Cam Jansen is going to be doing something with Twister here soon.
Oh, good. Okay.
So we got plenty of connections.
My guy.
We can make this happen again.
Yeah.
CD Stein 69. If fans not going to games is not bringing a better product on the field, what is a fan's recourse to an owner continually putting a bad product on the field? We've been there for years and are not being rewarded.
Well, number one, it really hasn't been as long and as horrible as you think. The Royals went 30 consecutive years with like 2 winning seasons and not making the playoffs. Pirates did the exact same thing. But here's what the Cardinals are going to try to do. They are responding to you not going to games. They are not going to go out and sign Sonny Gray to a 3-year, $75 million contract. They aren't going to trade for the Nolan Arenados of the world or the Paul Goldschmidts of the world. What was explained to us today is that they are going to be about draft and develop, think young and cheap. And they're going to try to find the best players they can that fit into that category, young and cheap, and they're going to try to win that way. That is the way that Cleveland has done it. That is the way that Tampa Bay has done it over the years. And right now, that's the way the Cardinals are going to try to do it, is to win with limited resources and having a younger team.
Aaron Cleary, has our next aircraft carrier been born yet?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. He might be somewhere down in the Dominican or Venezuela or something like that. He might be. I don't know. That's a great question. Hopefully he has, and hopefully he'll find his way to St. Louis within the next 4 or 5 years.
There you go. Riley Squirrel. Communication doesn't have to be nice, and winning trumps all. But don't you think fan apathy has been inflamed from poor performance mixed with regrettable comments like Bill DeWitt III's on fan attendance?
Well, they said they were going to send a message. Yeah, and they did. I don't know if if that many people, if 1 million people decided, you know what, I'm not going to go to the Cardinal game because Bill DeWitt said that. I would suggest that losing has a lot more to do with it.
This is a long one, but since we've been talking about this stuff for so long now, I want to get into the answer, the one answer that Bill DeWitt III did have in this presser from Chaim Bloom. So it's dense. There's a lot in here, but Bill DeWitt III was asked about attendance, broadcast uncertainty, and the CBA, but he gave a full-throated answer talking about attendance. It was about a 3.5-minute answer. You're going to hear about 2 minutes here. I cut out the middle minute where he talks about all the things they're going to do to get to increase the fan experience inside the park. And he also talked about how their parking rates are competitive. Those are the only things I cut out. Everything else is his direct answer here from the presser.
Start on the attendance piece. Obviously, we've all seen it. The numbers are down, and it's something that we're not happy about. If to the extent that that's a message, the message has been received. I don't really, think that. What we're all about is trying to think about ways to increase attendance beyond the biggest way, which is obviously what Chaim's talking about. We know that a winning team on the field is the most important thing relative to attendance, but then there's, several factors that we can control on the business and operational side. The first thing I think would be around sort of the game day entertainment changes. We've talked about those. And the other big thing is safety. We hear a little bit a lot about that from our fans, maybe concerned about downtown issues or what have you. And we have an incredible game day staff that has worked really hard on safety in the ballpark. We're DHS certified, which is a huge thing. Not every team has that, which means that you're doing absolutely everything you can internally for safety. And you're recognized by that from the Department of Homeland Security. But externally is something I've worked a lot on. We were able to get successful legislation done in the state this spring for an entertainment district, which will largely provide funding for additional layer of security downtown, a permanent layer, which is very important to us. I'm on a number of different committees and collaborative groups with our key business stakeholders downtown, the other sports teams, as well as the other stakeholders, entertainment stakeholders. And I'm working a lot on that. I work with the police chief on some things directly. So, it's really addressing all of those things that we can control on the business side. And we're, as you know, new leadership on the business side too, with Anook and others who are taking that head on.
So one thing I wanted to play that for a lot of reasons. One of the big ones was he mentioned that there was the entire back half of the back third of the full question. John Mozeliak mentioned it as well yesterday. Previously to both these press conferences, I've asked you about where you rank safety up on reasons why we saw 1 million fans not come to the ballpark over the last 2 years. He mentioned it again. Your thoughts on both BD3 and John Mozeliak citing that?
I think it's an issue, but I don't think it's the issue. And the reason that I don't think it's the issue is because the Cardinals could have sold more tickets to the Savannah Bananas than any other city in America. They could have sold out Busch Stadium 6 times. People weren't worried about going downtown and safety issues if they could go down to see the Savannah Bananas, something that entertained them. The Blues sell out virtually every game, and people aren't worried about going down to Enterprise Center, even at night, so they aren't worried about safety there. Same with St. Louis City SC. They still draw at a very high level, 22,500 seats, most of them filled. People aren't worried about going down there. So while safety is an issue, I don't think it's the issue. Now, that being said, I know some older people that don't want to go because they're worried about the perception that downtown is unsafe. As I listen to that answer, I'm thinking about who are the other entities that are doing things to help downtown St. Louis advance. What corporate entity is doing more to advance downtown St. Louis than the St. Louis Cardinals? I do, and I'm sure there are companies out there, and maybe you can help me with those companies that have stayed in downtown St. Louis and that are doing things to
Purina.
And I don't know what they're doing to enhance the safety of downtown St. Louis. I don't know that they have opened up office space like the St. Louis Cardinals have, and Cordish, obviously, at Ballpark Village. But yeah, Purina is still down there, no doubt about it. Anheuser-Busch is still down there on the outskirts of downtown St. Louis. I don't know that there is a company that I can think of off the top of my head that's doing more to try to make downtown St. Louis a pleasant place to be. I was intrigued yesterday by Mo basically saying that he's bullish on the future of downtown St. Louis. I was pleased to hear.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that almost felt like more of his comments in his farewell presser were about St. Louis than it was directly about the Cardinals, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. CD Stein 69 brings up Enterprise. Enterprise is based in Clayton. Yes, they do a lot of things for the city. They have helped fund some of the things at Forest Park and city schools. But in terms of being in downtown and helping downtown advance and helping to make downtown St. Louis a vibrant place again, Enterprise does wonderful things for the community, but I don't think that that's necessarily one of them.
High definition. Randy's logic is flawed. If someone buys a product for 20 years and that product's quality falls and becomes subpar from what it was, a person is likely to stop buying that product.
I don't disagree with that. I don't know where my logic is flawed there.
Yes, because high definition didn't connect the part where then you said it's stupid to then expect that company to then not be able to all of a sudden start creating a higher quality product while you and other people aren't buying their current product, because how are they going to spend the money they need to buy a higher quality product?
Yeah, that's
the part of the logic that you're saying is
right.
You can't then expect them to spend more than they were even spending previously when you're not supporting them. And that's and I think that's the other part of the logic that you threw out there.
Yep. And why do companies go out of business? Because their products become subpar and people quit buying them.
Yeah,
right.
That's fair.
That's how companies go out of business.
Craig Lewis says, I trust Mo's evaluation of the future of St. Louis about as much as I trust his evaluation of upcoming players. Yeah, it's not like he's been helping run $1 billion business in downtown St. Louis for the last 30 years or anything. It's not like he's still a resident of the city. He doesn't have he's not talking to corporate leaders or anything like that. One of his primary workmates, Build with the Third, wasn't just talking about how he's been meeting with people in the downtown area about cooperative ways that they can get more security, not just inside the park, but also in areas around the park. It sounds to me like John Mozeliak might have a pretty good idea of things going on in downtown St. Louis especially more than the average person living in downtown St. Louis, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I don't think the average listener we have knows that much about downtown relative to the average downtown resident, and therefore I'm going to trust John Mozeliak's take on that as a guy who's lived and worked there as long as he has, or worked there, I should say.
King's Echo. I really thought it was a bad taste for Chaim Bloom to read straight from a sheet of paper. It came off not very genuine.
That's a good. That's a good last comment to have for the show.
Oh, you like that?
It's a good last comment to have.
Here's the thing.
Good last comment to have for the show. You know what I hate?
He's a genuine guy.
You know what I hate is when the people that need to have long-term plans plan for things. That's what really bothers is the people that I want to have huge responsibilities. I really hate when they come prepared. It really gets my goat. You prepared? You thought about this beforehand? Jerk.
No, not it. Just he didn't think it was very genuine because he didn't speak from the heart. One of my favorite things ever, one of my favorite interviews was with Terry Bradshaw, who, if you Google or go to YouTube,
it's the biggest moment of his life. He's taking over the St. Louis Cardinals.
I know.
You don't think he's going to write down some things and be like, maybe I'll become prepared instead of shooting from the hip?
I think that's a good idea. I think he should. I thought he was fine. But here's the thing. So Terry Bradshaw has a fantastic Hall of Fame speech. If you haven't seen it, it's Mike Webster, if I could put my hands under your butt one more time. It was very funny. And the whole thing was great. So one time I was interviewing Terry Bradshaw and I said, man, you had the best Hall of Fame speech I've ever had seen. It was awesome. It was so fun and so funny and so genuine and from the heart. So let me tell you a story about that. He said, I had hired a consultant to help me write my Hall of Fame speech. And I'd gone through it. We'd spent months on it. And in Canton, before the Hall of Fame, they used to have their parade of Hall of Famers down the street to the Hall of Fame, and the players would be sitting in a convertible. And so he said, I'm sitting in my convertible in the parade, and I'm thinking, I just don't like this speech. It's not me. So I took it out of my jacket pocket, and I tore it up, and I threw it on the streets of Canton, Ohio. And he said, then when I got there, I just spoke from the heart. And he made a sensational speech from the heart. And I'm with you. I think that walking into that press conference, that Chaim Bloom should have just taken that thing out of his jacket, torn it up, and spoken from the heart. Said, Mookie Betts, if I could trade you one more time, I'd love to be able to do that.
Tim Klobnak says smartasses will lose viewers. I'm sorry, I made it an hour and 20 minutes in without being a complete smartass today. I'm giving myself a cookie and one smartass reaction.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, never mind. I gave another one. Ghostface Gaming.
Sorry.
Copy
Tim.
and paste another comment. I gave him a smartass comment there
Sorry.
too. My bad. Sorry. I lasted long enough for 2 smartass comments.
Will Chaim Bloom be reluctant to make changes in the front office or the field staff, or will he have the balls to do so from the get-go? He has gotten to know a lot of the people from the front office, from the baseball ops side, and likes them. A lot of those people that were under the previous administration have already departed. Gersh isn't there anymore. Gary LaRocque retired last year. The minor league system essentially built already by Chaim Bloom. And I don't know what the future holds for people like Moises Rodriguez and Randy Flores and some of the others. There's some good people in that baseball ops department. So I don't know exactly how Bloom feels about them, but I don't think it'll be a complete house cleaning.
Your mama says the Cardinals will win so much you'll be tired of winning. This is a great organization. This is a great organization. Some may say the greatest. The new era will be huge.
Never heard that before. So, okay, we'll let's do 3 more minutes until we get to 4:30 Central Time.
All right, we're going to take it to 4:30 Central Time exactly. Yep. I said I might put it up there, but fine, I'll put it up there. Waited too long to replace an aging Waino and damaged Flaherty. Randy, that's the main reason for this drought period. Oh, you changed it. Good job, Ghostface.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt.
He edited it.
I think that the Cardinals would have replaced an aging Adam Wainwright and traded Jack Flaherty before they did. I don't think there's any question that they probably would have won the World Series this year. That's always the way I have felt about them. And I think that when you look at that history, for example, let's take a look at Adam Wainwright, who in his second to last year was a 2.1 WAR guy. He was 7th in the National League in innings pitched at 191.2. He was top 10 in ERA at 3.76. I totally understand how you would have thought, you know what, you got to get rid of Adam Wainwright after a season like that. I'm with you, and I think you're right. Win 11-12 on a team that was 19th in the league in runs scored. So I get that. ERA was 3.71. Did I say that already?
Yes.
So, yeah, there's no question that second to last year of Wainwright was terrible. So you got rid of him way too late, and then with Jack Flaherty, he was injured, and actually Jack, I think until his last year here, and maybe I think the Cardinals kind of did have to replace him because he wasn't healthy, and so he wasn't giving you starts in his last year here with the Cardinals. He pitched. He made 20 starts before the deadline. Year before that, he made 8 starts. The year before that, he made 15. The year before that, he made 9. He just wasn't healthy after 2019. So yes, you should have replaced him, but in essence, you got to because he wasn't pitching because he was hurt.
Your kind of last thoughts after all this discussion. Your overall thoughts and takeaways from day one of the Chaim Bloom era.
I like the fact that he laid out what they're going to be. He didn't try to BS us and say, hey, we're going to go win the World Series last year. He said they're going to have to be sacrifices. He didn't use the word pain, but there's going to have to be a little bit more pain than what Cardinal fans have already dealt with. You're going to have to take perhaps a step back for the Cardinals to get where they want to be and win the way they want to win. And what they want to do, and did I say this today on this show? I don't think it was. But let me give you an example. What they want to do is they want to go back to a time where the Cardinals were one of the best development systems in baseball. So in 1981, the Cardinals moved Tommy Herr to second base full time. He'd been up for part-time duty in 79 and 80. In 81, they moved Tommy Herr to second base, and he's a regular second baseman. Also, in 1981. The Cardinals have made the trades. They have Sixto Lizcano in left. They let David Green play a little bit in center. He didn't prove to be the answer. The Hendrick was the right fielder. They moved over Oberkfell to third. And so it was a different looking team. Okay. But here's what the Cardinals did. Starting with Tommy Herr in 1981. 1982, they trade for a minor leaguer by the name of Willie McGee and plug him in center field. Okay. And he's second in the Rookie of the Year voting. But they brought up a player from their minor league system that was really good. In addition to him, by the way, they had Dave LaPointe, young pitcher, rookie starter, and John Stuper, rookie starter in a World Series championship rotation. So 3 impact players from the system that you apply to a winning team. In 83, there used to be this thing in baseball called the Hall of Fame game. And the Cardinals played in the Hall of Fame game in Cooperstown against the Baltimore Orioles. The guy that pitched that Hall of Fame game in July of 1983 was Danny Cox. So they bring him up, and he's great for them. 1984, the Cardinals bring up Terry Pendleton, regular third baseman for a pair of pennant-winning teams. 1985, the Cardinals bring up Vince Coleman. He wins Rookie of the Year and is the most dynamic young base runner in the history of the game. Later in 85, they bring up Todd Worrell. He wins Rookie of the Year in 1986. 1987, they bring up Joe McGrain, and he's really good for them. During the Whitey era, there was a young player that was brought up every year that made an impact on the success of the franchise. And that's not all of them. That's just an example of the guys that year after year after year after year were being brought up. That's what the Cardinals are trying to do now. And that's what I got out of Chaim Bloom's press conference today. So, okay, this is our goal. We need to regularly bring impact players from our system to the major leagues. And if they're successful, then there's no reason for this franchise to not have as much success as it enjoyed in the 80s. But you also need a manager like Whitey Herzog.
Oh, there it is. Hey, there's a plan.
So that's what I got out of it. Is it's going to be different than anything that we have seen since the DeWitts took over. But it doesn't mean it's not going to be good.
And that's also what they needed.
Yep. Yeah, because they we'll say it again. They were not going to spend $300 million on a player from another team to come here and play for them. It's just not going to happen with this ownership.
Randy, tomorrow, no rundown on the show.
Okay.
We're going to do the show completely from the heart.
Cold. Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Also, we can't check stats or anything else.
We need to be more like Chaim.
No baseball reference or anything like that. We're just going to go right from here.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. I could talk forever, but we're good. So we appreciate you joining us on STL Sports Central on the Randy Karraker Show, and we appreciate our friends at DraftKings presenting this show and this channel. Don't forget, you get to see Bernie every single day. I'm sure he'll have more reaction to Chaim Bloom with his video tomorrow. We'll have a lot more reaction as the Cardinals advance through this entire new regime, and it's a new morning in Cardinal Nation.